here. We have with us Faiza, who will be discussing her journey with forming cartoons, a diverse team of all-female improv troupe based in one of a kind or based in subcontinent of India and Pakistan. And yeah, today we will be joining for a wonderful speaker series by Global Citizen Year conversation with our guest Faiza Saleem, moderated by me. So, as a heads up, Global Citizen Year is a collective that equips a generation of leaders with the perspectives, skills, and networks to solve humanity's most pressing challenges. Each year, we recruit talented young people who represent our world's diversity, and using the formative transition into adulthood, we equip them to shape their values, identity, and purpose in ways classroom learning alone cannot. And it's through a virtual academy and immersive Take Action Lab experience that we combine curriculum, coaching, and lived experiences to help our students develop the real power skills of the 21st century. That is resilience, empathy, agency, and a sense of leadership in order to build a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. As for me, my name is Arman. You can also call me Carl. I'm from Maharashtra, India, currently speaking from a city called Nagpur. I'm taking a gap semester and have been a former fellow at GCYA Fall 21. And I will be joining the founding cohort of Take Action Lab, an immersive 4-month experience at Cape Town, where I will be working as an apprentice to grassroots organization, exploring and experimenting youth empowerment at the intersection of urban opportunities and governance. And before I move on to introduce our speaker, there are a few housekeeping items you can take a note of. So just make sure you indicate the location where you come from in your display name, and we strongly encourage you to turn your video on. But if that's not possible due to connection issues or personal reasons, that's totally fine. And the speaker will be with us for 1 hour. And in order to ask questions, our tech person over here, Sahar, will be sending us the Slido link in the chat. Make sure that you attach your name to the question, or else you won't be able to ask it. So how it works is, once your question gets the highest number of votes, I will be calling you out, and you will get the chance to ask Faiza about your question, and that's how it works. So please only ask the questions that have been approved in the Slido. I'm sure we won't be able to answer all questions, but let's ensure that the best one get answered. And at the end, there will be a survey to fill out in which you'll be able to thank the speaker. So before we move on, let's practice using some emojis to get a sense of who's in the room. So if you're a current or incoming Take Action Lab student, please give us a clap emoji. It's nice seeing you here, Amanda, Doreen, Anita, Abhas. Huh. Now, if you're an alum like myself, show us a tada or a celebration emoji. Nice seeing you, Michaela. Nice seeing you, Abdul. Nice seeing you, Shahar, again. And if you're a part of the larger global citizen in your community or are interested in joining us, please do give us a heart emoji. Thanks, Krista. Thanks, Anna. So, all right then. That brings us to our speaker introduction. Faiza Saleem is a lawyer turned comedian based in Karachi. She's Pakistan's first female social media entertainer and also the first woman of her generation to pursue stand-up comedy in the country. Moreover, Faiza has created and trained subcontinent's first all-female improv comedy troupe, the Cartoons. Of late, she has been doing comedy on TV and film and is making a mark on every platform. Freed from the conventions of Pakistan's mainstream media, the former lawyer uses her platform to promote a message of body positivity and overturn stereotypical depictions of women. Her content revolves around deep rooted gender issues regarding stereotyping and body shaming, among other issues. Welcome, Faiza. Thanks a lot for being here. We are very thrilled with you and hope you are excited as well.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful for all of you who's attending. I know it's early morning and it is a bit much to see somebody from so far away so early in the morning, or maybe it's not. But I'm very very happy to be here and very excited to know more about you guys and to speak with everybody. I hope we get to answer everyone's questions, but if that doesn't happen, feel free to DM me on Instagram, and we can take it from there. I'll share my ID toward the end of the session, if that works.
Yeah. So, to start us off with, we often, just like I did, project grandiose professional bios onto the people who inspire us. We outline their public successes and awards, but we don't always get to relate to the person behind the success story. So, I'm wondering how you might expand the introduction that I just gave you to include the parts of you and your journey that are important to you and that people don't always get to know about you through your professional bio. Faiza.
Well, a lot of people don't know that my parents or and my family didn't know for the longest time that I was doing theater and that I was doing even television. So yeah, it's very funny because I mean I would not say that I'm from a very conservative household, but I'm from a relatively conservative household. Like, you know, I would even say my parents were broad-minded, but not enough for me to go to acting school, which I wanted to do. And I was also okay with it. It's not that I didn't want to pursue law as a career entirely, but my heart was always into performing arts. So I decided to balance the two. I would study law at school and then later at uni, but I'd also do theater and improv and online videos, until my parents found out because one of the videos that I did went viral globally. And friends and family members started asking them like, what the hell? And obviously then I had to sort of open up to them and be like, okay, you know what, this is what I'm doing. And I eased them into the whole thing. um, but this is at a time when this was not very common in Pakistan. Content creators had just started to emerge because YouTube
Mhm.
had been back for a while, and not a lot of content was being created in Pakistan by Pakistani content creators. So at that time, and even I think till date, which is like, I mean, this was 10 years ago almost. I think even now people don't really understand what I do for a living. So I mean, it's easier to say that I'm a lawyer turned comedian, but in truth, it has been a very gray area for a lot of people. They can't, it's hard for them to put me in a box. So yeah, so I think this is one thing that you need to know about me. I was a
Mhm.
comedian only in secrecy for the longest time.
Wow, that is really intriguing. We have an audience with a majority of youth and teenage representation. So could you tell us about a childhood or a teenage memory that has played a very important, like played some important role in being who you are today, and your experiences that have shaped you?
So this was a little bit after, like I think it was in my early 20s when I was still in uni, when I was doing a performance for about 500 plus people at a theater here, which is the most popular theater in Pakistan, one of the most popular in Pakistan, and the most popular one in Karachi. And it was just completely filled with audience. And I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing. So many people have shown up to see us perform. And I wasn't doing comedy back then. I started with like non-comedic roles, and like I do like regular roles, right? and
Mhm.
and then I improvised a line on stage, and has been such an important moment in my life that I think it's shaped so much of who I am even now, and as not only personally but also professionally, because in that moment when I went up on stage, I improvised a line, and suddenly everybody started laughing. I didn't have a funny character. Everybody started laughing and clapping and hooting for me. And I was like, oh my goodness, the rush that I felt at that time, I was like, my goodness, I'm going to do comedy for a living. So I wasn't even supposed to be funny, but I thought, the director didn't know, nobody knew. Even I didn't know until I said the line that it was going to be a funny one. And that's how I still feel when I perform live. That it just unparalleled to anything else that you do in any other field, whether I've done TV, film. I've been like doing online sketches for like 8 years now, but nothing compares to going live like in front of people and connecting with them, because in that moment, like
Mhm.
I like you and you like
Yeah.
me. You
Yeah.
don't laugh out of hatred in that sense. So there's a kind of bonding with the person who's laughing with you, hopefully with you.
Hopefully with you. Yeah, I really relate to that because like I mean we are talking about like laughing with empathy and not laughing out of like sheer
Yeah,
deception,
yeah.
if we must say. And like I I've realized that like comedy has been a source for you to practice humility and proximity. And at Global Citizen Year, we practice curiosity before judgment. What this means is that we learn to replace judgment, the sense of, like judging person by the character or appearance, rather with curiosity of approaching a situation from a more positive and a productive outlook. There's a world, because as you said, there's a world of possibility that exists when we take time to be more curious and when we take time to improve. So could you tell us about a time when being curious led you to a breakthrough?
Okay, so growing up, another thing, I think there are lots of things that a lot of people don't know about me, but growing up, I
Hmm.
used to struggle with public speaking to the extent that I would still try and I would go up on stage, but I'd stammer. And there was this one time that I would stammer so much that I stammered so much that I had to be taken off stage. That's probably in like fifth, sixth grade, but it's a vivid memory in my head. I was stammering so much, they're like, okay, you know what, get off, get off, because I was taking so long and I wasn't prepared. I had a script, but I was stammering so much. But I love pushing myself. And every time I would see somebody like, I'd get curious about what motivates them. How does this person or that person have the courage to come in front of so many people and, so what, and open themselves up to judgment? And to obviously, because, that's a reality of life, no matter how we see it, people are going to judge you. So just putting yourself out there, it would really, I'd be curious about what drives people to come in front of so many people and put themselves out there. So every time I would see someone challenging themselves, I'd ask them and I'd go up to them and I'd want to know more about how they decided to do something, and
Hmm.
I learned from that. I learned from so many people around me, even now, that I think I have something to learn from every single person that I meet. So I try, like, and initially, I used to ask a lot of questions, and people in our society generally think that's very nosy, but I genuinely ask because I want to know more about how the human mind works, how people see each other, how they interact with one another. So yeah, that's one instance when, and even like, for example, I don't know if you know about mooting. Mooting is like a fake court competition that lawyers do in law school. I used to
Hmm.
see people doing that, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, that's very tough work. And then I started doing it, and I ended up winning a national championship. But I found it to be very, very scary because you have to come up with legal arguments, you have to come up with a lot of material and then deliver it in front of judges who can see through your BS, like who can see that you're struggling. So I mean, I still remember the first time I saw someone else doing that. So every time I see someone challenging or themselves or pushing boundaries, I try to learn more about them, and that's how I've also sort of evolved as a person. Because I don't think I've made it, or I don't ever think that I've made it, because I always want to learn more from people who inspire me in different ways.
Hmm. I really love the part that you seek to learn from everyone around you. And like even I to date struggle with public speaking. So like I have like my own vivid memories of like like my shaking legs while I'm conducting the assembly and like second grade and stuff. So yeah, I totally relate with that part. And one more thing that I realized was that like you use comedy as a means to connect with people, and it involves blending humor with this bleach of reality. I mean, as we say, like "सच्चाई कड़वी होती है" and stuff. So like, yeah, like that's what we do in humor. It's like just like covering it up. So
Yeah.
as a feminist and an artist, what social vices do you strive to voice out?
There are so many. I think women all over the world, we face so many biases. When people say, oh, it's a big deal that doing well as a female comedian in Pakistan, I say, to be fair, I think that's the case the world over. Female comedians and women in comedy and women in general struggle so much to make an impact.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just the perception that people have about you that I've had to constantly push and change again. And, also I made mistakes on the way. There are, when you try to talk about things that are social issues, people sort of tend to look at you, they put you on a pedestal, and they tend to idolize you so much that one mistake and they just want to push you off because they hold you in such high regard. And now I tell people, I'll talk about some things that are close to my heart, but I can't talk about everything, because then there's this expectation that if I, for example, if I
Mhm.
speak against body shaming, then I have to speak against this and that, and much more other than that. So I just feel sometimes there's that pressure, and out of that pressure, comes, like you do make mistakes, because if you're speaking on every subject or every injustice that is happening around you, then you are also expected to be a model citizen, right?
Mhm.
You're expected to be a certain way, to conduct yourself in a certain way. So I try to pinpoint problems, but not people. A, with my comedy, and B, I do it from, I humanize everything that I do. Everything that I do comes from the heart. It comes from a good place. So sometimes I will make mistakes, and I apologize for those mistakes, and sometimes I'm not even forgiven for them. But I try to voice out things that I think are true to be, and I've experienced personally. So when I came in, people thought, it's silly to pursue a career in comedy when you've studied law. And I went to like an expensive university in my country, according to our means and resources. It's a good university, and I
Mhm.
didn't end up pursuing a career in it. And then I started doing comedy when content creation wasn't even a thing. I properly remember that the term influencer was coined after, like many years after I had started working. So I didn't even know what
Mhm.
I became an influencer. I tell people I'm a comedian, but society has turned me, and Instagram has turned me into an influencer. I'm not an influencer. So that is something that I still struggle with. And people say, you've broken so many stereotypes and all of that. And I'm happy and proud of that. But I also feel that the battle is ongoing, because the more you
Mhm.
try to call out, not people, but you call out problems in your society or in the world around you, the more people expect you to be a certain way. And that's sort of like, that's a tricky place to be in.
Yeah, I so much agree with you, and I'm really inspired by the courage, confidence, and the vulnerability that you show in expressing this, like this feeling of, being put into pedestal, something that we don't really wish by chance or by choice. And I'm really glad that you were able to share this incidents of yours with to voice social issues of body shaming and gender stereotyping. And I know this might be a difficult question, as self-courage is something that we really, really find it difficult to reflect on ourselves. But how do you practice courage? What or who helps you stay in your stretch zone?
Well, to be honest, I'd say that first and foremost, it's myself. And there are, obviously, I have a great support system. I have amazing friends and family members. I have the world's most supportive husband. But I think really courage has to come from within. And you have to accept that there are people, and I've accepted that. Initially, I used to get very surprised that, if somebody would leave a hate comment, I'd be like, what? They hate me? I'm so cute, you know?
I feel you.
Because I'm the youngest in my family, and by a decade. So I was always like, like just loved to, like there's no tomorrow. So I, for me, going outside and facing criticism on that level, where people would like just like say the most horrible things, I just, at first I could not, to be honest. And I say this much later in life now, I wouldn't say it before. I would actually genuinely be surprised that people don't like me, especially people who don't know me at all on a personal level. I'm like, give me a chance. How do you know? Like, so I think that's something that I've struggled with, but with time, I've accepted that not everybody is going to like you. Not everything is going to go in your favor, and that is fine. In our culture, I'm sure, Man, I'm assuming you would be able to relate, but people in our culture, in our part of the world, we are expected to please everyone. We people
Mm.
pleasers,
Yeah.
you know because we come from that kind of family system where we have to be like, like I'm supposed to be not just like a good comedian. I'm supposed to be a good mother. I'm supposed to be a good wife. I'm supposed to, and there's lots of things that I'm supposed to do, that are normal, and I don't do those things, like, unless I want to. So I've always had to sort
Yeah.
of power through everything and accept that, things will not go the way that I expect them to. But if I just be myself and I stick to to my own path, things will work out for me. But it has to come from within. From within. No matter how nice people around you are or how not nice they are, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You just have to push through, and you have to be consistent. You have to just keep doing your thing, even if people don't like it, even if there's not a market for you. you create your own opportunities where there none, like there were no opportunities. There are still, I would say in mainstream media, there are no opportunities for somebody like me, or very few opportunities now. But this, I'm
Mhm.
saying this after years of seeing that, there's very little room for somebody like me in mainstream media. But that doesn't deter me from doing what I think I do well. I do improv well. I do my online sketches well. So that's fine. It's okay. I mean, no matter where you are, you should be proud of the journey.
I really love the part where you mention about like having courage in self and being glad of having a very great support system. And the part that you mentioned about uncertainty, a lot of us are in a dilemma of making a change and supporting ourselves financially. So, as you continue to pursue comedy, you had unwavering support of your husband, your mom, and chose to bash against the societal pressure of settling down, as this is something which is very, very, very prevalent in all of South Asia. And how can young people at the beginning of their journey, before or during university, balance living their purpose with supporting themselves financially?
I mean, I did finish my degree, and I tell people that education is important as a backup plan, because the world we know is unpredictable. And I mean, younger kids might not appreciate me for saying this, but you need to have a degree. I finished my degree in law, and then I started pursuing a career in comedy. So I mean, it is important to study, guys. I wouldn't say that just go off and make reels on your Instagram and you'll become successful like that. You need to have a backup plan in life. I do have that backup plan even now. And but initially when I started this, I did not have any idea as to how I'll be making money, because there wasn't even a lot of money in the field back then. I remember I had left my job as the head of my department and gone on to do a theater play, which paid me literally peanuts. Like I got nothing out of that. And I was the boss at work. So from that, I just took the plunge, and I didn't know how I was going to make money. And I also, at that point, I did need somebody to support me in my life. And I didn't have that kind of support because my father had passed away. So I had to, like, it wasn't like, oh,
Mhm.
you know what, I do this for fun. I had to sort of also figure out how to sustain myself in the long run.
Mhm.
Because I also like to be independent. I didn't want to be dependent on the rest of my family members. I'm very scared of being financially dependent on other people. So I, from the very beginning, had decided, after, like, my first spell of being a risk taker, I decided that if I want to sustain this in the long term, I need to make money off of it. And I found
Mhm.
ways to combine the two, my passion with the living. But again, Arman, I've been very fortunate with that, in that regard, because a lot of people don't end up having that in their lives, doing a job that they love and also making a lot of money off of it. But the good thing is that, social media has created such opportunities now, but back then there weren't many. However, I still was very careful about how I project myself. I knew my value even then, so I wouldn't do a lot of things, that people would say, okay, what, you should do this for exposure. This is you do
Mhm.
this for free, you'll get exposure out of it. I was like, I'm fine, there's a certain value that I attach to my work. And with that in mind, and knowing that if I want to pursue a passion, I need to have the money to live life like that, I decided to, take up things and risks that involved making money. But,
Mhm.
uh, I think that turned out well for me. You have to finish you have to finish your education. B, you have to figure out ways of how you can make money, because then there are lots of ways you can make money out of a
Yeah.
passion of yours. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
But again, this is just my perspective. I could be wrong.
Hmm. No, no, you certainly are not, like regarding that, because like I mean, as you mentioned that like risk taking is essential if we choose to follow our passions and such. And
Yeah.
this brings me to a question by Shruti. So Shruti, would you like to unmute yourself and ask Faiza?
Hi, Faiza. So my question is, firstly, big fan. I've been following you since the very beginning. So I want to know, when did you start feeling that you're making a difference? That you're becoming the voice of Southeast Asian women.
Shruti, I think when I started, not when I was doing improv and stand up and theater, but when I started making videos online, I started because there were a lot of male content creators, um, especially outside of Pakistan, who would make videos about how women, gossip, how women are jealous of each other, how women this and how women that, and obviously not in the most flattering of ways they portray women. So my online presence started as a result of that, to be honest. I still remember I was in a hospital waiting for like an appointment, doctor's appointment. And I called up a friend of mine. I was like, you know what, listen, there's no female here who's doing that. Like, why do we not retaliate? Why do we not tell our side of the story? Who's going to tell our side of the story? So the intention with online comedy of bringing my comedy to a virtual space where a lot of people could reach me and could see my work was to sort of respond to that patriarchal mindset that people often, if you go back and see videos from like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, male content, not 15, but even 10 years ago, you'll see a lot of male content creators would bash women and call it comedy. So, and then little by little, after like, to be honest, in my head, it wasn't like, okay, you know what, I have to do this because I'm a feminist, I have to do that. No, I was just doing what again meant something to me. And step by step, it became a big deal. But I did not mean for it to become a big deal. I did not mean for it to, be on this level, on the scale. So it's just step by step thing, sort of, because I was being myself and I was being who I am. It just happened to pan out in a way that I started making a difference. And I wanted to make a difference, but I didn't know that it would be in such an impactful way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shruti, for the question. We have one more question by Sanjeev. So, Sahar, can you just like pin Sanjeev with us so that he can ask us a question? Yeah.
Okay,
Hey,
so
Sanjeev.
hi Faiza. Thank you so much for
Hello.
sharing your thank you so much for sharing your story. Actually, I'm doing fine. I'm from Nepal and I'm the Global Citizen Year Academy 2022 fellow. So I have a question for you about, there will be always be circumstances behind the every success story, right? So when was the time when you actually felt like you should be giving up or not? We were confused about whether I should be pursuing my career as a comedian or not, because as you explained about the financial conditions, about being independent, and also, in dilemma of whether I should be pursuing my passion or not. So how did you felt? Are there any kind of situations when you started to thinking about giving up on your comedy career?
No, I've told people now I don't know what else to do. Like I mentioned a backup plan, but if I actually practically think about it, it's not like I can ever go back to sitting on a desk and doing that for a living. I die because I ran away from that kind of situation. So going back would be absolutely horrible. So I've always told myself, you know what, do or die. You sticking around and you have to do this and you can't, make a switch. And I think that's what a lot of kids these days either choose not to do or fail to do. I don't know, but they kind of, okay, you know what, this is not working out for me. Let's move on to the next best thing. And for me, moving on from a career, even relationships, even situations, unless obviously they're toxic, moving on is not an option. So I mean, like I said to you, I've been doing this for 10 years and I still don't have a space like a proper, like a prominent space in mainstream media. I've been covered by this BBC and CNN and whatnot, but in Pakistan, I'm not a mainstream actor. I'm not somebody you'd see on your like on people's television screens that much. I'm doing a sitcom and I've done TV and film and I do it on and off, but there's no space. But even regardless of that, I keep going. I make my own space, and tomorrow, if God forbid something happens and I'm not able to do it, I will be humble about it as well. I'll move on to the next best thing. But that's if I absolutely have no choice. If the country is just like complete, like if the world around me is burning down, then maybe I'll switch. But as far as I can see, I'll be doing this forever. So yeah, there are times that you feel like, oh my goodness, this is going to be difficult. There are times, especially like, there's a lot of, I was telling these guys, there's political turmoil in Pakistan. There's a lot going on, inflation is off the chart the world over, but Pakistan, because it's already a developing country, we're struggling a lot. And my husband and I, we were talking about, how like, we have to think of plan B, but just in my heart, I feel like I have to be faithful to what I do, and I need to believe that it's going to work out, and it will work out no matter what happens. So you just have to really, really believe in your own strengths. Like, I'm hardworking, and hardworking people, even if they're not the most intelligent or the most, conventionally beautiful, or like, not great on paper, I think hardworking people, hard work, consistency goes a long way, and things just happen for you if you're just honest with your work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, for asking that question. And Faiza, I really appreciate the point of persistence that you mentioned, that like it is really important for us to like persist. And I wouldn't say no matter what, but I would say acknowledging what our circumstances are, as you said. And also persistence is also about believing our own powers. And this leads me to our next question by Erin, which focuses on how you use humor. So Erin, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Would you like to ask your question?
That's perfect. Thank you, Aman. And thank you for the wonderful insights so far. Faiza, it's really given me a lot of hope for the type of tools that become relevant in your life, maybe at different stages. I did really think when I was signing up for this call, so I'm a global citizen year student from the 2021 cohort. And I'm finding myself in a new setting from where I was as a student a couple years back, and adjusting to culture and all of these things. Like, I feel that humor has been such a powerful tool in breaking the ice between people that I may not know very well. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on how humor has played a different role in your life. Like, in what ways is humor an effective tool in some settings, or whether that's in family settings or with new scary environments or opportunities. I'd love to hear how something kind of like humor that isn't well talked about, like how it can open doors for you and how it's played a role in your life.
So Erin, I think comedy, and especially improv comedy, has become a lifestyle for me now. And I feel like being a funny person in real life also, or just somebody who's lighthearted with whatever they say, I think that has opened a lot of doors for me, and increased my likability on stage and on camera. So I feel like it's gotten me out of a lot of situations where I could be uncomfortable, because I think humor safeguards you from a lot of things, and if you're funny about it, then you can talk about a serious matter very openly, and which is what I do. So if there's like any uncomfortable things or an uncomfortable situation, even work-wise, then I'd be funny about it, and that's how people get it. Instead of, I try not to be angry, so wherever I feel angry, I'll try to convey it in a fun way or a lighthearted way, and that's how people understand me and connect with me. So I think it connects people on a very humane level. I think comedy and just being funny and having a good sense of humor and not taking everything personally makes you see the world in a positive light as well. So instead of always feeling like, oh my god, this person is making fun of me, oh my god, this person is just taking a dig at me, you also open your heart to them. And when I make a joke about you, I'm open to you making a joke about me. But obviously there are boundaries that people should follow. It's good as long as you and I are both laughing. But if you stop laughing and I'm still laughing, then I need to stop and be like, okay, you know what, sorry, I crossed a boundary. So with humor, you should also know its limits, and also understand that maybe if there's a certain limit that you have, the other person might not have it. So if they're not okay with it, you should apologize, or ask them, okay, I don't understand why you found this to be offensive, or why you didn't like it. So let me know. And I think in settings with friends and family members also, that really helps, especially in cultures like ours, where everything becomes a joke and people are, body shaming you, and people are like shaming you in all sorts of ways as a joke. I think it's important that then you stand up and be like, okay, you know what, this is not funny. This is, and this has no positive impact on my relationship with you. So yeah, with a good sense of humor, I think a lot of those open for you. A lot of times you connect with people as a human being, but it also sometimes leads to people crossing boundaries with each other. And when that happens, I think it's important to communicate with them that, okay, this is something, especially, I mean, you're meeting new people, right? You might not like some of the things or some of the jokes they make. So firstly, I'll tell you to, like maybe take a step back and be like, okay, you know what, was this just a personal attack or not? And if you feel that it was, then you should be open to communicating that. Does that answer your question, or have I gone off on a tangent?
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think if I might ask a follow-up question, do you think that humor has always been something you can balance with? I kind of hear what you're saying in terms of maybe like a vulnerability and being able to stand up for your boundaries. Do you feel like there's a time and I kind of hear that, is there a time and place for choosing the lighthearted connection versus being able to say, no, this deserves a serious tone and I'm going to treat it as such?
Yeah. So of course, I mean, you need to have a dichotomy between the two, and that just you get that by interacting with somebody, and if you observe them closely enough, you'll know whether that situation demands a light-hearted approach or something that has to be on a bit of a serious note. But comedy comes from a dark place, so sometimes that place gets too dark for other people to handle, and you have to find the right balance between being vulnerable and also being likable and getting people to understand you and getting yourself to understand other people.
That's really insightful. I have a lot to think about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question, Erin. So, Faiza, you mentioned about maintain, like as Erin said, like maintaining a balance between vulnerability and humor, and I realized that it also takes a sense of diversity to empathize with people on different backgrounds, so that we have a pre-understanding of the boundaries that we must not cross. And it leads me to the next question, that we at Global Citizen Year believe that true leadership is in the practice and not in the position one holds. It's because leadership is the ability to influence people, whether or not we have a position of authority. And your true Kavatoons, the first all female improv comedy troupe in the subcontinent, has got members spanning from different social backgrounds. And your collective coordination infuses creativity to catalyze moments of laughter from the ordinary moments of life. What role has leadership as a practice for you played in creating Kavatoons?
So all of us do improv comedy in the Khawaroon, right? And there are still a lot of people in Pakistan that don't know that I lead the group, and I think that's also good in a way, because when you're performing or whenever you have a team of people, and if you want to be a good leader, I feel you should also learn to be a little bit less, I wouldn't say completely selfless, but a little bit less selfish. Because we tend to want to, as leaders, we tend to want to outshine the people that we're leading, as opposed to actually, mentoring them, or to, as opposed to, giving them all the tools that you have. And that's something that I've worked very actively on, because as a performer, initially, even I was struggling with that, because I was used to being the star of the show, and as an improviser, especially. And then I had to sort of, back down and be like, okay, you know what, I'm going to let my performers outshine me. And that's not outshining in the sense that we see it, but it's actually an entire troupe shining through for the audience. And I say this to the troupe itself. We'd all women, and at any point in time, we're about 7 women who perform together in different cities and for different organizations. And we've been doing this for 6 years, Arman, and people keep asking me, you guys are all females. We talk to, sort of attack each other. Not like we socialize in a way where we see each other as a threat. Like, okay, you know what, like, here's this, and either I can have it or she can have it. That's how we socialize in a way. Like, in a way, you'd be told that's how people are socialized.
Mhm.
Even men are socialized that way. That okay, there's this much, and you have to either you can take it or he can take it, right? And within the troop, I've tried to get the girls to understand that there's this much for you, and then there's much for you, and it's about you creating this much for yourself, as opposed to thinking this is it and all of us have to take from it. So you need to, as a leader, uh, not be insecure of who you are, and to get the others to also trust each other, and to know that, especially as performers, because everybody's in the spotlight, right? And then everybody wants to
Mhm.
be the main person. I tell them that if you compete against each other, everybody loses out, as opposed to if you support each other, everybody wins. And I say the real victory is not in somebody coming to our shows and saying, "Oh my God, Faiza was great," or Amtal was great, or Jay was great, like an individual was great. But our victory is when people come in and be like, "Oh my God, the entire troop was amazing. How well they come together, how well they make everybody laugh, how well they're doing this without shaming anybody or delving into any isms." We even stay away from religion and politics. So there's so many filters that we have imposed on ourselves, and some involuntary also, but we still manage to be funny. And I tell them that's our victory, when people see us as a collective. So as a leader, yes, you need to be less about yourself.
I really appreciate that part. And it makes me really curious because like you chose to form a diverse team, and like there's often a preconceived notion of that the more diversity you have, the worse it gets to control. But as in your case, uh what really inspired me was your proactivity of selecting women from all walks of life. And can you tell us like how diversity, I'm so sorry, diversity played an important role for forming teams, and how did you seek to connect the dots to bring unison to coordinate within the team?
Arman, I'd like to give you very informed answer about this, but the problem is that initially when I started a troop, I was so desperate. I would go off to like cafes, street side cafes, to random malls, everywhere, like to parties, and I'd ask women to join my troop. Any women at that point. So at that time, I was like, oh, okay, you know what, anyone would do, because again, like improv comedy, the world over is not that popular as a genre, especially of
Yeah.
comedy. Stand-up comedy is more popular. Improv comedy, a lot of people think is just stand-up comedy, with more people. So people don't even know the difference. Even now, people don't know the difference. Like a lot of people don't. So I just couldn't convey what I wanted to a lot of people. So I just would like whoever I thought, would just join us. I would get them to join me. And that's how I started initially. But what I had in mind was that I'm not going to go for a certain type of woman. I'm not going to go for anybody from a certain background or certain age group or certain class or whatever. I think it's going to be an open platform for everybody. So everybody is welcome, and that's how I am with my relationships and my friendships also. All sorts of people around me. So I decided that it's never going to be people that I like just for no reason, or like just like for personal reasons, or people that I think would be a good fit. But I'd go for those who fit the box, like they are who I want them to be in a comedy troupe, but they're also individually, they're very different people, and they bring something to the table that the other person doesn't bring. So everyone brings their own thing. I wanted it to be, and with time, that's exactly how it happened. So I have like boss ladies, I have students in the troupe, I have people who came in at 18 and now they're 22, 23. And I have people who married, I have people who are single, I have people who are, bankers. I have another content creator on the team. So I mean, we have a lot of like
Oh,
inspiring women, but they're all so unique in their own way that if you saw us separately from each other, you wouldn't think we'd be in a troop together or that we'd be friends if you met us separately.
yeah. Yeah, it's like, just having a diverse team just like helps fit the pieces together and just like have a melange of like different tastes and this sense of empathy that we can connect with people. And yeah, I really love the story of how you chose to just just go out and just ask for people to join the troop and such.
Yeah, that's how we
And
used to call people to our shows also. We'd go off with our banners, we'd go off to on the streets, and we tell people, please come to our show, we're performing, please come, please come. And yeah, it was quite in the beginning, it was quite I would have to say desperate, but eventually things worked out and now people just come to our shows on their own.
yeah, and hmm, also we have a question by Tamanda. So Tamanda, would you like to unmute yourself and ask Feza? And also, if possible, you can raise your hand so that we can pin you.
Okay. So my question was, I know you've had a lot of accomplishments and memorable moments in your career. So I was wondering if there's been something that was really significant for you, or like a sort of, not really a turning point in your career, but something you look to as a really memorable moment in your career for you.
So Amanda, am I right?
Amanda, yeah.
Amanda.
Yes.
Amanda, there have been quite a few moments, if I'm being honest with you, and I mean, I can't be too modest about this because I don't know how to be. But growing up, I would see a lot of women in the media, and I would feel that I can't relate to them, and I wouldn't see people like myself. And I mean, I'm sure, like, I think the West was progressing a little more in that regard, but in Pakistan, and I think even in India, you see a certain type of women on billboards, and you see a certain type of women modeling, and you see a certain type of women on magazine covers. I mean, they're just like a certain kind of woman gets the public attention, right? But when I saw my billboards the first time across the country, I was blown away. Then more recently, there was I was on a magazine cover. I was a cover girl. I had not imagined in my wildest dreams. And I'm not like showing off about this, but it was so heartwarming to see that, because I thought to myself, there's so many young women, girls especially, who starve themselves to I mean, complete oblivion, because they want to look like everybody on Instagram, and like, because everyone's filtered now, and there's such a I mean, yes, we talk about inclusivity and we talk about body positivity, but at the end of the day, who's the mainstream heroine? Who's the it girl, right? It's a certain type of woman. So seeing myself in places where there was no, I mean, no one could imagine that I'd be in those places. Even I couldn't imagine, and it's not like I'd decided that, oh my God, one day I'm going to be on billboards, or one day I'm going to be a cover girl. I hadn't decided that, but things just, step by step, again, I would say things just turned out in such a way that I think life has overwhelmed me, and I'm very happy that there are going to be a lot of women, and there are a lot of women who are going to look at me and feel good, and that they'd want to dress up, and they'd want to embrace their bodies. Because I don't know about yours, but in my country, if you are overweight, or you don't look a certain way, people tend to become underconfident. They go off into the shadows. They don't achieve a lot that they can, just because, okay, you know what, I'm going to lose weight and then I'm going to do it. And I tell people, I mean, sure, do whatever you think is right for you, be healthy or not, whatever you want to do with your body, it's up to you. But in the meanwhile, you should pursue your dreams. That's very important. Okay, I hope that answers your question.
Thanks a lot, Amanda. And this brings me to the next question that which Zunaira will be asking concerning, like, we try hard to pursue our dreams, yet people focus in. So Zunaira, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Would you like to raise your hand so that Sahar can spotlight you and you can ask a question?
So hi, hello everybody, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Zarera. And hi, Faiza. So I just wanted
Hello.
to ask you that, like I'm a Pakistani and I'm a university student and I have this round face. So, there's this culture here, like, people roasting each other, like your friends roast you. And if you mind, they're like, oh my God, you're so not funny and you are narrow minded and you have to, buck up and listen to our shit roasting and stuff like that. And they just, like pull you down from doing things and stuff like that. So I just wanted to ask you, like, have you like you have gone through it, right? That's why this whole motive of this conversation, like how did you deal with it, and like what is your advice for people like me who are just trying to do things in life and make their mark. And if a girl like me, I'm a little bit overweight and I'm also a nutrition student, and I hear things like, you're studying nutrition and you are overweight, what motivation are you giving to people, and stuff like that. So, and if I'm doing Instagram and I have just 8K followers and they're like, oh my God, you are not that capable of having those kind of followers, you have not that face, you have not that body, and like stuff like that, I listen to it. And I'm in university, like I'm 21. So like what is your advice for people like me to cope with it? And like it gets you, like it gets to me. And and now like I'm in my third year now. It's like my social circle just consists of like two people, GCY family and my social media, and that's it. Like that restricts me to go out and meet people. Like it's so here in the mindsets of young people that they just mock you, they just pull you down, and then they say we are the youth, we push you, and like what is this kind of double standards and how do we deal with it? I hope you get my question.
I completely get. Well, which country are you in?
I'm from Pakistan.
I know, but which country are you in right now?
I'm in Islamabad right now.
This is happening in Islamabad.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is absolutely. First of all, you need to be okay with having two friends, because that's the kind of friends you have, and all of them are like that. I'm surprised that there are such horrendous people who still exist. But if you have so many of them around you, I don't know. I would say, just first of all, learn to differentiate between who's just having fun with you and who doesn't mean well, and people who say stuff like, oh, you should be studying what you're studying and you should be doing what you're doing because like it makes no sense. I don't know, and it's just horrible. So just if you think that they don't mean well, and then you would know better than I would, obviously, because you see them. If you think they don't mean well, then it's okay to have two friends. Two friends, quality over quantity. True friends, like who is supportive and who normal, or who don't put you down, are okay, and you should be okay with that. You don't. Why would you need people like that? Why would you need a social circle with stupid people like that who don't know right from wrong, right? So, and if you still want to be around them, and you really want to be around them for some reason that I cannot comprehend, maybe, then you should talk to them. You should communicate with them that this is not something that I enjoy in particular, because I would do that. Initially, I used to laugh at people making fun of me, but then I started saying to them, that's not funny, and I don't like it, and I know that maybe you don't mean to hurt me, but you're hurting me with these comments. So what would happen in that scenario was that either people would just back off, or I would not have those people around in my life anymore. So either way, I was fine. But nobody can just, bash you and you don't like it, and they can't keep doing that. So that's wrong, but don't let them pull you down, because there will be people. There's so many people online who are always saying things to me, and very personal things to me. And in the happiest of my moments, they'd be like, oh my God, you were looking like this. Like I'll tell you, like I just mentioned the magazine cover, right? Magazine cover, being you are from my country, so you know what a big deal it is for somebody like me to be on a magazine cover, right? So I wrote a post about it, and I was very happy, and I even said to people, okay, thank you for being part of my journey, and thank you for loving me so much, that I gave them credit. It's not like I was like, oh my God, look at me, but I wasn't like that. I was nice about it, right? And I was genuine, like I was honest about it. But someone decides that they don't like it and they have a problem with it, even though it has nothing to do with them, and they're like, oh my God, who are these people who are saying she looks nice, she looks like a painted potato? And I was like, wow. I was like, wow, like how could you go out of your way? Somebody's happy, right? I didn't just post it without a caption. I wasn't just showing off. I was happy. I was humbled. I was a moment that I was sharing with people who follow me. And they decided to write that. I was like, even if you do genuinely feel that way, why would you want to hurt me? So if people are going out of their way to hurt you, you don't mean to. These people are online. I can't help if they're going to say things to me. I can block and delete them. But other than that, I mean, I can't do much. But with your friends, you need to tell them that it's not okay. It is not, because it is not okay by general standards. Nobody in the world will say that it's okay and you have to put up with it, even though it's complete nonsense, right? They can't do that. If they don't listen to you, then it's okay. Your two friends are the best. Then you don't need anybody else, and you don't, and even your social media, whatever you do on your own, even if those two friends become, I don't want to cuss at them, but if those two friends, start acting up, then you don't need them either. So don't be so people dependent. Like people, love people, take love and give love back. But when it's not reciprocated and they don't understand, then just cut them off.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just needed that word of advice. Like it's been an year I'm living with my two people, and I still hear words like you are so alone. You are not, surrounded by so many people and stuff
Who
like
are these people? Who are these troubled people that have started hounding you? How can somebody be surrounded with so many bad
Oh my
people?
god, I live in a hostel in a university, and I don't know,
Mm.
this is
Oh,
just a
that's
mindset, and
why.
I'm so I'm just so, sometimes I'm so like I don't know the word, but like I just think like what is this mindset? I never heard things like that in my entire childhood, in my entire family. And like I know, like we are living in 2022 and people are like my GCYF family, or like people from international countries, or they are just so like good and lovable and stuff. But like here, I don't know what's wrong with our people. I know, like I don't want to show bad image, but it's there. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. I don't know. So yeah.
Mm.
I
But
agree with you,
don't
Sunara.
let anyone put you down. And no matter what people say, you know your strengths, right? You know that you're good at what you do, or you're trying your best at the very least, right? And that's all that matters. Like, people are always going to say things to you, so just don't let them put you down. Don't feel bad about yourself. Feel bad about them. How terrible must your life be that you always have to put down other people? I don't put down other people because I'm too happy living my own life. I have a great life. Who cares? Who wants to bash other people? Why would I take the time out to bash people? So it's just farik people with no lives who do stuff like that to other people, to put them down. I mean, I don't understand why they do it, but whoever does it, it's just it's feel bad for them, not for yourself.
Thank you so much, Zanera, for the question. We are a little bit over time, but before we conclude, this is a classic question we love to ask at the end of every speaker series conversation. So, Faiza, if you could give one piece of advice to your 18-year-old self, what would it be?
uh, that it's okay to suck at math. It's okay to to suck at some things. It's okay to be terrible at things. You will always
Mhm.
find that one thing, that you're good at. And everybody has that. Everybody has something special about them. I'm saying this to every one of you. There is something extremely special and unique only to you. You will find it one day if you haven't already. And when you find it, just keep it close to your heart. But the thing that you're not good at, it's okay. I'm terrible at a lot of things. Like sometimes I'm terrible at basic life skills. But you know what I'm good at? I'm happy with that. So it's okay to not be amazing at everything. You don't have to be perfect, because who is perfect? There's no such thing.
Thank you so much for presenting your notes on humility, gratitude, humor, the ability to, stand up for oneself even if the whole world is against you. And then at the same time having the ability to be grateful for the support system you have. I'm really, really, and not just we, but even our audience is really, really inspired to have you here. And thank you so much for sharing your experience today.
Thank you so much.
And And as the session is almost coming to an end, to the audience, so just take a moment, breathe, and share your best bits of our conversation today as a token of gratitude in the form that we have sent, that Sahara has sent in the chat. And do make sure to follow the socials of Global Citizen here at Faiza Saleem. And yeah, Faiza, you can also drop in your social in the chat
Yes, it's
if you
Faiza
wish
Saleem
to.
90 on Instagram, FAIZA SALEEM 90 at, yeah, no, not at, just Faiza Saleem 90. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's 11 p.m. At, it's just Faiza Saleem 90.
Oh my God. About the part that you said that there are lots of things we suck at. I suck at midnight grammar, like speaking correct English at midnight.
Yeah.
So this is something all of us can relate to. So, all right then. Thank you so much everyone for joining us. Make sure you just like write something, take a note of like whatever you like, the best bits of this conversation. And yeah, do reach out to Faiza Salim if you wish to have strike up a conversation. Do approach her on DMs and such. And yeah, see you all soon on the next speaker series conversation.
You guys were amazing. I had a great time chatting with all of you. And Arman, you are an incredible host. Thank you, Global Citizen here, for having me. Inshallah, we'll keep doing this. And wait, let me. Can you guys do this? I'll take a
Sure.
boomerang or video. So.
Yeah.
Okay, nice to meet all of you.